We're taking a look at the scenarios. We have Barbara deposited $5 into her bank account. We want to know what would be the opposite of that. So what was the opposite of depositing $5 into the account? Jaden?
Barbara took $5 out of her account.
Okay, she took $5 out of her account. Who remembers what word that is when you take money out? Armand? You withdrew, right? It was a withdrawal. So now who remembers depositing money into the account? Is that positive or negative? If you deposit it, it's positive, right? So we know that this was a positive 5. And then we're saying, hey, instead of depositing, we're going to go ahead and withdraw. So she's going to withdraw $5. So is that positive or negative? That's negative. So now based off of that information, she deposited and then she withdrew. So how much money is going to be left in her account, guys? $0, right? She's going to have $0 remaining in her account because she added it in and then took it away. So she's got $0 left in her account. All right, Kenya loses 3 points on her first turn. What would be the opposite of that? John Carlos? She wins 3 points or she gains 3 points. Either one of those terms could be perfectly fine. She's going to win 3 points. She wins 3 points. Okay, so if Kenya loses 3 points, we know that that's considered to be a negative 3. She wins 3 points. That's a positive 3. So now how many points will she have? 0, right? She lost 3 points and now she gains 3 points, so she's at 0 points now. So what are we showcasing here, guys? Who remembers what is that called again when you have a positive and it's direct opposite? Armand, 0 what? You're on the path. 0 pairs. 0 pairs. So we have a creation of our 0 pairs here, where we've got a positive and its direct opposite, the negative. We have a negative and its direct opposite, the positive. Okay, same basis, different signs. So we're creating these 0 pairs. So for here, which of the following situations does not result in a sum of 0? Which one would not result? So that's a key word. Does not result. Noah? C. C is not going to result in a 0 because we have a loss of 10 yards, which is a negative 10. And then they lost 10 yards again, so another negative 10. So now we have negative 10 and negative 10. That doesn't create a 0. That just creates another negative number. Okay? For Sunday, the temperature is at negative 12. That's a negative number. But then the inside is at positive 12 in the garage. So those are direct opposites. Those are 0 pairs. For problem B, the ball was kicked 10 meters into the air, so it went up in the air. That would be a positive. And then it fell 10 meters. That would be a negative. For problem D, a bucket descended. Remember, we learned that word yesterday. It descended 100 feet down. And then it was lifted. What was another word that we could have used? Since we used descended, what opposite word could we have used for descend? Who remembers what? Ascend. We could have said ascended, but they said lifted. Perfectly fine. Lifted 100 feet. So that was the positive counterpart. So all these ones, A, B, and D, all showcased 0 pairs, sums of 0, when you combine their opposites together. The only one that did not was answer choice C. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the next page. We're going to go over some of our addition rules and subtraction rules. We're not going to do all of lesson 2 today. We're going to do lesson 2 today and tomorrow. So we're actually going to stop after we finish this word problem here. And then I'll allow you guys to work on your assignment from yesterday. Okay, if you guys are, those of you who are done, you guys get to have a Prodigy game time. Okay? All right. So we're going to go over our rules because that's our learning target for today. Our learning target, I can add and subtract integers using rules, counters, and number lines. Shh. So we're focusing today on the rules. Tomorrow we're going to focus on the counters and the number lines. Okay? So these rules are all rules that you guys learned last year in 6th grade. It's just a nice quick review of the rules. So our first rule that we're going to go over is our addition rules. So when we are adding integers together, there are 2 types of ways that we can add integers together. The first type is if the integers have all the same signs. So if the integers are all the same sign, meaning that they are all negative or they are all positive, then all you're going to do is add and keep. You're going to add the bases together and you're going to keep the sign. You'll add the bases. You'll keep the sign. That's what add and keep means. So in this situation right here, we have -2 plus -6. These are both negative numbers. These happen to both be negative numbers. So we are going to add those bases together. My base is 2 and 6. I'm going to add 2 and 6 together, and I'm just going to keep the answer negative. So I'm putting my negative on the outside. Remember, parentheses show that you're doing this part first before you do anything else. So I'm showing that I am adding the 2 and the 6 together first before I show that I'm keeping the sign. What's 2 plus 6? 8. It's okay. We're still in summer brain. Let me tell you, I do it too. So we are going to get a -8. 2 plus 6 is 8, but we're keeping that negative sign. Okay, same thing with 3 plus 4, which is something you guys have done plenty of times. They're both positive. Now, do we have to write positive signs? Okay, when I'm writing my 7, do I have to put +7? No, you don't have to. For right now, I'm going to show you that it's a +7. I'm going to put a plus sign just so that you can show that it's all the same. But essentially what this means is we're taking the positive sign outside of it, and all we're doing is adding the 3 and the 4 together to get ourselves a +7. For future reference, you do not have to put the positive sign unless it's asking you to indicate if it's positive or negative. Okay? Now, same signs, you add and keep. Different signs, though, you are subtracting. With different signs, you're going to subtract. So you're going to look at the bases, and you're going to subtract the highest base from the minus the lowest base. So just like you would normally do. Whatever's your highest base number minus your lowest base number. And then whatever your highest base number was, that's the sign that you're going to keep. That's the sign that you're going to keep. So for example here, -4 plus 7. Patrick, honey, I know that he's so adorable and you just want to keep smiling at him, but let's go ahead and stop. Okay, baby. Thank you. -4 plus 7. What we're going to do is we are going to subtract them in order of their base. So which one of these has the larger base? 4 or 7? 7. So we're going to do 7 minus the 4. Okay, so that means 7 is my larger base. So I'm going to put a little star underneath it so that I know to look back at the problem and identify whether the 7 was a positive or a negative. Was the 7 positive or negative? It was positive. Shh. Boys, if I have to move you a second time, then that becomes permanent seats. Okay? The 7 was a positive. So I'm going to put down that it was positive underneath it so that I know my answer is going to be a positive answer. And then I subtract like normal. What's 7 minus 4? 3. All right, same thing here. We have a -8 plus 2. Again, I'm just going to ignore the signs, and just write it as a subtraction problem. Which one is the larger number? 8. Okay, so we're going to do 8 minus the 2. Now again, the 8 is the larger number. Was the 8 positive or negative? It was negative. So that means my final answer is going to be a negative. So I'm just going to write that off to the side so that I remember to put a negative sign. And what's 8 minus 2?
6.
6. So our answer is -6. when your signs are different signs, you're really just subtracting the numbers and keeping the sign that you have the most of. Now, if you start off with a subtraction problem, we tend to like to change them. We don't really have subtraction of integers. We have what's called an additive inverse. This is one of our properties here. Additive means you're adding. Inverse means it's the opposite. So you're just adding the opposite value. So it's a 3-step rule. You're going to keep the first number the same. You're going to change the second number to its direct opposite. You're going to change the subtraction to addition, and then you're going to change the second number to its direct opposite. So keep, change, and change. So it helps if you kind of divide your problem up into 3 parts. So we're going to split this up. We have negative 15 minus the 2. Split it up into your sections here. We're going to go ahead and keep the first number just as it is. I'm going to put a K under it to show that I'm keeping. That's going to stay in negative 15. We're going to change the subtraction. What did I say we're going to change it into? Subtraction changes to what, Jada? Addition. Good. Subtraction changes to addition. Okay, and then the 2 is going to change. Remember, it becomes its opposite. So what's the opposite of positive 2? Negative 2. So we've now got a negative 2. So now we have it in its addition format. So we follow our addition rules. So we had 2 rules. Are these same signs or different signs? Same signs, right? They're both a negative sign, so we're just going to add and keep. And I'm going to write down underneath it that they are the same sign. So we're going to just add them and keep them. So that becomes a negative 17. Right? For here, we have negative 5 minus negative 4. Again, it is a subtraction problem. We want to change it into addition so that we just follow our addition rules. So we're going to set up our walls, splitting it into 3 parts. We're going to keep the first number just as it is. It'll stay a negative 5. We're going to change subtraction into addition. We're going to change negative 4 into what? Positive 4. So now we have negative 5 plus 4. Are these same signs or different signs? Different, right? These are our different signs. So we have to follow the rules for different signs. Remember, the rule for different signs is we're just going to subtract them and keep the sign of the larger number. So I'm really just doing 5 minus 4, and I'm keeping the sign for the 5. What was the sign for the 5? Positive or negative? Negative. So we're going to keep this negative. So what I want you guys to do now, I know some of you have your calculators at your desk, but I want you to ignore the calculator for right now. I want you to practice doing these problems without the calculator. Okay, so for problem number 1, we have negative 7 plus the 2. These were different signs. These ones were differing signs, so that means that we're really just going to subtract 7 minus the 2 and keep the sign of the 7, which happened to be a negative number. That's going to give us a negative 5. For problem number 2, we have negative 4 plus negative 5. Those were the same signs. They happen to be same signs. They both have negatives. Therefore, we're going to keep the negative and just add the 4 and the 5 together. That's going to give us a negative 9. For problem number 3, we first have to go ahead and keep the 8. We're going to change to addition, and then we're going to change to a positive 4. So we now have 8 plus 4. They are the same sign, so that's going to stay a 12. For problem number 4, again, we're going to have to do our keep, change, and change. So we're going to keep the negative 9. We're going to change subtraction into addition. We're going to change the 2 into a negative 2. Again, these are now the same sign, so we're just going to add them together and keep the sign. So 9 plus 2 is 11. We're going to keep it a negative 11. For problem number 5, they are the same signs. So we're just going to add the 3 and the 11 together and keep the sign. So we get a negative 14. And then problem number 6, we're going to go ahead and keep the 7 as it is. We're going to change subtraction into addition. Oops, that should be okay. And then we're going to change the 15 to a negative 15. That gives us different signs. These are now different signs. So we're really going to go ahead and do 15 minus the 7. And we're going to keep the sign of the 15, which the 15 happened to be a negative. So we get a negative 8 for our final answer. Now again, you guys are going to have calculators to be able to use. You can always double check yourself, so please make sure that you double check yourself. You don't want to sit here and get something wrong because you tried to do it in your head and you didn't double check to make sure that you got it right. All right, go ahead and flip it on over to the next page. We're just going to focus on the 2 word problems there, and then we'll stop for the day. We'll continue tomorrow. So we're going to just focus on our word problems. So for here, problem number 1, we have Mount Everest is 29,028 feet above sea level. The Dead Sea is 1,312 feet below sea level. And what is the difference between these 2 elevations? So there are 3 key words in here that are going to tell us a lot of information. Okay, 3 key words. What I want you to do is with your pencil, just your pencil, not with a color, but with a pencil, I want you to circle what 3 key words in here do you think are going to help you work this problem out. So take a moment, again, read through it, and I want you to circle the 3 words that you think are going to help you a lot with this problem. Okay, who wants to tell me one of the words that they highlighted or circled? Noah? Difference. Okay, that's a great word. That tells us a lot of information. What information does difference tell us, Noah? Okay, so how does something differ from something else? What about in an operation? Like what mathematical operation could it mean? Subtraction. Okay, so there's different things that difference can mean, right? We talk about compare and contrast, what's same, what's different. In this situation, difference is going to tell us that we are subtracting. We're going to subtract in this problem. Okay, what's another key word that you probably focus on? Huh?
Above.
Above. What does above tell you?
It's a positive.
It's a positive. Okay, the word above is letting us know that Mount Everest, its measurement, is going to be a positive value. All right, and what's one more word? Jacqueline?
Below.
Below, and what does that tell us?
Negative.
It's negative, right? Below is going to tell us that the Dead Sea's measurement is going to be a negative value. Did I say your name right?
Yes.
I did? Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, so we know that we're taking a positive number and a negative number, and we're going to subtract. So I'm going to take the measurement for Mount Everest, and I'm going to subtract the measurement for the Dead Sea. So I'm not even using numbers yet. I'm just setting up the problem, just the format of the problem. So now I can plug that information in. The measurement for Mount Everest was a positive 29,028. And now I know I had to subtract. And then the measurement for the Dead Sea was a negative 1,312. Okay, so here is the problem I can work out now. Okay, in my calculator, I could type this out. So I'm not going to make you guys do this by hand because that's a larger number to work with. But if you were to type in 29,028 and subtract a negative 1,312, what would you get?
Negative 27,716.
Ooh, not quite. Try it again. Do you have a calculator with you? Grab a calculator. If you have a calculator with you, why don't you go ahead and take it out? You can try. If you don't, I'm going to come around with the calculators in a little bit when you're going to get to your work. Who's done it? Who's done 29,028? So 29028 minus a negative 1312. That's what you're typing into your calculator. Remember, the subtraction sign and the negative signs are different from each other. Okay? When you actually do it, you should get a positive number. You should get a positive number. You're going to get 30,340 feet. All right, number 2. In Denver, the temperature in the morning was negative 18 degrees Fahrenheit. So it already told us that the sign is negative. By the afternoon, the temperature rose 12 degrees. So we want to know what's the temperature. So there's only one key word in here that's actually going to help us in the problem. What's the one key word that is going to help us with this problem? Jada? Rose. So rose can mean two different things. It could mean a integer sign. What did we say that to rise or rose would be as an integer? Is that a positive or a negative? Positive. Okay? But it also can mean an operation. Remember, I told you, if you're looking at it as a single value in the problem, then that's going to be an integer sign. But we've got multiple numbers, so we're using it now as an operation. What operation does rose mean? Jean Carlos? That's not the operation. Tell me the operation. They're whispering it to you. Adding. Yes. Okay. Yes, I would. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll fill you in.
Thank you. You too. He seems very sweet. Let's continue. So we know we're going to go ahead and add. So we're going to take negative 18 and we're going to add 12. Negative 18 and we're going to add 12, and that's going to come out to a negative 6. Remember, these were different signs. We would subtract and keep the sign of the larger number, but you will be able to use your calculators for that. We're going to go ahead and stop here,